Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. Welcome to Primetime Asia. Tonight we'll bring you some of the latest events from the Asia Pacific, starting with a mass in the Yemeni capital Sana'a to condemn the Saudi deadly military aggression against their country. Also in the lineup is Iran's stand on the nuclear issue, which stipulates that the country would sign no deal with the P5+1 countries unless all economic sanctions are lifted on the first day of the implementation of the agreement. In Libya, the South Korean embassy has come under a deadly attack by gunmen believed to be associated with the IS militant group. Meanwhile, India is assisting SAARC countries in making the region polio-free. In South Korea, meanwhile, for the first time, the government has released an itemized list of expenses associated with the Seawall ferry tragedy. We also bring you other latest news from China. Here's Henry Ramaner with the reports.
Thousands of Yemeni protesters have poured into the streets of the capital, Sana'a, to condemn the Saudi deadly military aggression against their country and consider it as a violation of international law. The demonstrators waved national flags and carried large banners while calling on the international community to probe crimes committed in their country by Saudi Arabia and prosecute the perpetrators of the atrocities. The protesters reiterated that the Yemeni people are capable of resolving their own problems peacefully. They also hailed efforts by Iran, Russia, China, and several other countries to stand behind the people of Yemen. Meanwhile, sporadic protests were also held in other parts of the Arab country, including the southeastern city of Taiz. The demonstrations were held as Saudi jet fighters targeted several parts of Sana'a during rallies in Al-Mata Street. Saudi Arabia started its air campaign against Yemen on March 26th without a UN mandate in a bid to restore power to the country's fugitive former president Abdul Rabbu Mansur Hadi, a staunch ally of Riyadh. The World Health Organization, WHO, said that more than 540 people have been killed in Yemen since the military conflict began in the Arab country in mid-March. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said in a ceremony to mark the 9th National Nuclear Technology Day that Iran would sign no deal with the P5+1 countries unless all economic sanctions are lifted on the first day of the implementation of the agreement. President Rouhani added that Iran has never sought to defeat any country in the nuclear talks, but it seeks the restoration of its rights and win-win negotiations that would be beneficial to the Islamic Republic, the region, and the whole world. Referring to the mutual understanding that Iran and 6 world powers reached in the Swiss city of Lausanne following days of marathon talks, President Rouhani said the joint statement was not Iran's only achievement in the nuclear talks with the P5+1 group. President Rouhani stated that the majority of world countries have repeatedly verified the peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program at different international bodies, such as the Non-Aligned Movement. Rouhani emphasized that Iran has never intended and will never wish to develop nuclear weapons, saying the Iranian nation, however, would proceed on the path of national development. He noted that the unveiled nuclear achievements covered the fields of medicine, treatment, disease diagnosis, and industry, indicating that Iranian scientists would continue their nuclear activities. The South Korean embassy in Libya has come under deadly attack by gunmen believed to be associated with the militant IS group. 2 security guards were killed and no South Korean nationals were among the casualties. The next priority for authorities is the safe evacuation of embassy officials. The guard post of the South Korean embassy in Tripoli, the capital of Libya, was attacked by armed terrorists early morning on Sunday. The terrorists fired over 40 heavy machine gun shots from a car and fled the scene right away. 2 of the 3 policemen who were on duty at the time were killed. The remaining one was seriously injured. Sources said 2 South Korean diplomats and 1 employee who were at the embassy at the time were unharmed. 2 hours after the shooting spree, a terror group that claimed to be connected to ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack on its Twitter page. The South Korean government is taking a cautious stance as it's still too early to conclude that the attack is targeted specifically at Korea. But the government is looking for ways to temporarily evacuate embassy officials and local Koreans for safety reasons. India has extended its help to SAARC countries in making the region polio-free. India was declared polio-free last year by the World Health Organization and has now offered to share its best practices with other South Asian countries which are still to conquer polio. The fifth meeting of SAARC health ministers held in Delhi passed a resolution effective last Wednesday. South Asian nations have pledged to eradicate polio from the SAARC region, passing a resolution to this effect at the fifth meeting of SAARC health ministers. Health Minister J.P. Nadda chaired the meeting. Steps to make the SAARC region HIV/AIDS-free by 2013 were also discussed. For the first time, the South Korean government has released an itemized list of expenses associated with the Sewol ferry tragedy. An estimated $507 million in total will be spent in the wake of the accident, with around $110 million going to wreckage recovery alone. The Sewol ferry sank to the depth of 44 meters into the sea. The government projects that it would take roughly $507 million in total to put a closure to the ferry accident. The total includes the costs for wreckage recovery and victim assistance. As of late last year, around $170 million had already been used for search and recovery operations and support for victims' families. It is also projected that more than $338 million will be incurred as additional costs. The sum includes $128 million for the compensation for human losses, over $100 million for additional rescue operations and victim assistance programs, and nearly $110 million for floating the ferry. Diving expense and fees for using large cranes are expected to each take up half of the recovery cost. The government has already taken preservative measures on the family assets of the deceased ferry owner, Yo Byung-yoon, to make up for accident-related costs. The government also said the total amount may be changed depending on how the requests for indemnity, right, and future situations pan out. Japan Coast Guard officials have been trying to rescue survivors among a group of 160 dolphins that washed ashore on a beach in Ibaraki Prefecture, northeast of Tokyo. People at the beach say the dolphins are a variety known as melon-headed whales that measure 2 to 3 meters in length. They say the stricken animals are injured and apparently weak. Residents and surfers used plastic sheeting to try to lift them back into the ocean, and the children helped by pouring water on them. Coast Guard officials were able to get a few healthy dolphins onto a vessel and out to sea. They say the dolphins appeared healthy after they released them back into the water. But they say people were forced to bury some dolphins on the beach after the animals became weak and died. Staff at a hotel aquarium said the variety of dolphins are typically classified as small whales and are usually found in deeper waters. They say it's unusual for so many to wash ashore. Marine biology experts visited the site to investigate the cause. They suspect a drop in temperature or a natural predator, such as the grampus, may have caused the dolphins to head towards the beach. Locals also discovered more than 50 melon-headed whales on a nearby beach 4 years ago. Joint air and sea patrols have been launched to ensure the ecological safety of the Yangtze River. The patrols, which started on April the 9th on the Shanghai section of the river, are scheduled to involve more than 200 law enforcers, a helicopter and more than 20 vessels. During the patrols, the helicopter found illegal fishing nets on river and guided vessels to the sites to clear them. Shanghai Fishery Authorities said they have dealt with 1,443 illegal fishing cases in the last 2 years. The joint patrols will continue through to June the 30th. A sudden snowfall in northeast China's Heilongjiang province has surprised many people. In Heihe City, residents were enjoying the sunshine in the morning, but the weather changed towards the afternoon when snowflakes filled the air and covered the city white. The sudden snow lasted for about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, snow in Fuyuan County on Thursday gave people a special experience of appreciating snow in April. Many tourists and residents came out to enjoy the fun and to take pictures. Meanwhile, nearly 1,000 swans were spotted recently in a nature reserve in northeast China's Jilin province as ice and snow have melted. This was the largest group of swans ever spotted over the past years, according to the reserve. They were seen on the water surface in the daytime in the core area of the Xianghai wetland. They came to the lake in early April, according to one of the staff members at the reserve. The swans migrate in big numbers, but when making stopover, they usually stick to family groups.
Welcome back. Primetime Asia this week also covers environmental issues, including the objects found from a sunken vessel near Porto Island in Hong Kong. In Turkmenistan, International Exhibition Turkmen Construction 2015 was held. In Japan, the iconic movie monster Godzilla adorns a new building in Shinjuku district, glaring at pedestrians with its bright eyes. As for kite enthusiasts, various kites in the shape of Psy, Transformers and Octopus drew a lot of attention at the Daming Palace National Heritage Park in Shanxi, China. And also in China, the 2015 Qintong Boats Festival in Jiangsu Province. Stay on for the full report.
Local divers say they have found objects from a sunken boat near Portoy Island. Experts believe it could have been a vessel used by the Japanese forces during World War II to transport people and goods to the remote island. Lying on the seabed 3 kilometers off Hong Kong Island are objects believed to be a cannon barrel and an anchor. The objects were discovered last month by members of the Hong Kong Underwater Archaeological Association. This cannon barrel is over 1.8 meters long and it was spotted at 11 meters underwater. The anchor was found around 20 meters underwater. The association believes the anchor belonged to a 60-meter-long sailing boat. It is suspected that the vessel sunk 100 meters offshore, and it was documented that the Japanese army took people out to live around Portoy Island because of the scarcity of food in the urban area. Jackie Wu, chairman of the Underwater Archaeological Association, thinks the boat was abandoned back then. The boat was probably severely damaged and there was no way to fix it. The association is planning to send divers down to 30 to 40 meters underwater to learn more about the sunken boat. International Exhibition Turkmen Construction 2015 and Scientific Conference Development of Construction Industry in Turkmenistan, organized by Chamber of Commerce, kicks off in Exhibition Palace Sergei Koshki in the capital of Turkmenistan. The high government officials, heads of Turkmen parliament, ministries, institutes, heads of diplomatic embassies and missions having accreditation in Turkmenistan, as well as representatives of public organizations and media service took part in the opening ceremony of the exhibition. Turkmen President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov's greetings to participants of the forum are read in this ceremony. As the president underlined, Turkmenistan is one of the sustainable developing countries in the world. Positive and grand changes are underway in the country. A big success is seen in the construction sphere. Not only in the capital, but also in all corners throughout the country, modern buildings are growing in high temps. The leader of the country expressed hope that the International Construction Expo and Conference, devoting to achievements of their country in construction fields, become an ideal place for experience exchange between Turkmen specialists and foreign counterparts and strengthen further development of international cooperation in this significant sphere. This year's exposition presents 125 participants. Among them, 107 are foreign companies from different countries, namely Russia, Turkey, Switzerland, Iran, UAE, India and others. One of the highlights are expositions displayed by structural departments of Construction Ministry of Turkmenistan and state concern Turkmenav Toyo Lari. The iconic movie monster Godzilla now adorns a new building in Tokyo's busy Shinjuku district, glaring at pedestrians with its shining eyes. The head of the giant monster was unveiled on Thursday ahead of the April 17th opening of the 30-story structure. The building houses a cinema complex, a hotel and several restaurants. Godzilla's smoke-bleaching head is situated on the 8th floor terrace, about 50 meters above street level, matching the height of the monster in the early films. Images of lightning-sparked fire will also be projected onto the building, accompanied by the sounds of the monster's roar and its crashing footsteps. The spectacular will take place every night starting next week.
Is he going to protect us?
I hope so.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Godzilla.
Also in Japan, a pair of mangoes was sold for $2,500 at an auction to mark the start of the mango season. The prize tied a record set last year. Mangoes are grown in Miyazaki Prefecture in southern Japan. They are called Taiyo no Tamago, which translates as egg of the sun. Only mangoes with a sugar content of at least 15% and weighing 350 grams or more are given that classification. The mangoes went on sale on Monday at wholesale markets across the country. The top prize was fetched at a market in the city of Miyazaki, and the winning bidder was a wholesaler who said he wanted to thank farmers for providing great-tasting mangoes. Agricultural cooperative officials in the prefecture noted that shipments were delayed by about 2 weeks due to a lack of sunshine last autumn. They said the delay did not affect the quality of the fruit. Another panda was killed after a virus swept through a care center in northeast China's Jiangxi province, the center said on Wednesday. The panda was the center's fifth to be killed by the canine distemper virus, which affects a wide variety of animals, including dogs and large cats. The Jiangxi Rescue, Breeding and Research Center for Rare Wild Animals said that the panda died after 3 months of treatment. The center managed to rescue 4 pandas that contracted the virus, and no more are believed to be infected. Prior to the epidemic, the center was home to 25 giant pandas. After the outbreak, the center sent its healthy pandas to reserve elsewhere in the province. Giant pandas are one of the world's most endangered species. About 1,600 of the animals live in the wild, mostly in the mountains of Sichuan, southwest China, while more than 300 live in captivity. The sky in Xi'an, capital city of northwest China's Jiangxi province, became lively as kite lovers from 10 countries showcased their best kites. Varied kites in shape of transformers and octopus drew a lot of attention at the kite fair at the Daming Palace National Heritage Park. The most distinguished kite is the one that measures at least 10 meters tall. The kite, literally called Rolling Dragon, looks like 2 giant hedgehogs rolling on ground. Its player is Ido, an Italian kite master who had never come to Xi'an before. Chinese kite fans displayed traditional Chinese kites. The kite festival was attended by fans from Italy, Sweden and Canada. The fair started from the 3rd of April and will last to the end of this month. And finally, tonight, the 2015 Qintong Boats Festival has opened in Taizhou City, East China's Jiangsu province. The annual event, which runs until May the 3rd this year, has attracted more than 400 boats and over 10,000 participants. The Qintong Boat Festival was listed as a state-level intangible cultural heritage in 2008 and was labeled as the world's largest boat festival in 2009 by the Guinness Book of World Records. The Qintong Boat Festival has been an annual event during the traditional Tomb Sweeping Day in Taizhou since the Ming Dynasty, with dragon boat races as the focus of the event. Some of the boats are decorated with objects themed based on fairy tales and legends. Traditional Chinese opera performances as well as dragon and lion dances are also performed on board the boats.
And that concludes this week's edition of Primetime Asia. Till we meet again, same time next week with other interesting news and features. To watch more on Primetime Asia portal video, you can visit our website at www.rtbnews.rtb.gov.bn. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wishing you all a pleasant week ahead and good night.